Part 2. Words that changed everything. 1100 words. Growing understanding between them during their time hiding. Lyria learns about human emotions. Jaren accidentally compliments her appearance, causing shock and confusion. They share stories of their worlds. Emotional barriers begin to crumble. Danger approaches. Part 3. The choice between duty and heart. 1100 words. Rescue parties from both sides arrive simultaneously. Jaren and Lyria must decide whether to betray each other or stand together. The moment of truth reveals deeper feelings. Their choice impacts both their peoples. Hopeful but uncertain ending about bridging two worlds. Part 1. The unexpected. Mercy, the dust storms of Terrace 9 never truly settled. They just paused, gathering strength before sweeping across the barren plains again. Jaren Moss pulled his thermal scarf tighter around his face as he picked through the ruins of settlement Gamma 7. 3 weeks ago, this place had been neutral. Ground, a last hope for peace talks between humans and the Zephany. Now it was just another graveyard of broken dreams and shattered glass. His mission was simple enough. Search for salvageable technology, check for survivors, and report any enemy movement. The Zephany had withdrawn after the talks collapsed, leaving behind only silence and the hollow shells of buildings that had once buzzed with hopeful voices. Jaren moved carefully, his scanner sweeping the empty corridors. He had learned long ago that silence could be more dangerous than gunfire. The sound reached him when he entered what had been the medical wing. A soft rasp, like fabric dragging. Across stone. Jaren froze, his hand moving instinctively to the pulse weapon at his hip. He waited, counting his heartbeats, listening. There it was again, accompanied this time by a faint whimper. Someone was alive in here. He found her in the corner of a collapsed treatment room, half buried under a fallen ceiling panel. At first, Jaren thought she was a child. She was so small, barely reaching 4 feet even when standing. But then he saw the warrior markings along her arms, the ceremonial blade still strapped to her thigh, and the unmistakable luminescent blue patterns that traced across her gray skin like living rivers. A Zephany soldier, her large eyes snapped open when his shadow fell across her. They were entirely black, like polished obsidian, but somehow Jaren could still read the pain and defiance in them. She tried to reach for her blade, but her arm trembled and fell back. Her breathing came in short, desperate gasps. The panel had crushed her leg, and dark blood pooled beneath the debris. "Stay back, human," she hissed, her voice surprisingly strong despite her condition. The translator chip in Jaren's ear rendered her words with a slight mechanical echo. "I will not be your prisoner." Jaren raised his hands slowly, showing they were empty. "I'm not here to take prisoners," he said quietly. He knelt down, keeping his movements slow and visible. "You're hurt. That panel needs to come off." She bared her teeth at him. A gesture he had learned meant both threat and fear among her people. "You mock me with false concern. Your kind knows only cruelty." "My kind knows field medicine," Jaren replied, already assessing the situation. The panel was heavy but movable. The wound looked bad, but treatable if he acted quickly. "And right now, that's what you need. Why?" The question came out sharp, confused. "Why would you help your enemy?" Jaren met those black eyes steadily. "Because you're hurt. That's reason enough." Before she could protest further, he braced himself and lifted the panel, muscles straining as he shifted it aside. She gasped, pain flashing across her delicate features. Without hesitating, Jaren pulled his emergency medkit from his pack. He had been trained to treat both human and non-human injuries. The Zephany biology was different, but the basics were the same. Stop the bleeding, prevent infection, stabilize. She watched him in stunned silence as he worked, her body rigid with suspicion. When he cleaned the wound with antiseptic foam, She flinched, but made no sound. Her pride would not allow it. Jaren wrapped her leg carefully, using a stabilizing cast that would adjust to her smaller frame. "You should not do this," she whispered, her voice losing some of its edge. "My people. If they find us, they will kill you for touching me." "Then we better make sure they don't find us yet," Jaren said, finishing the bandage. He sat back, studying her pale face. "Can you move?" She tried to stand, using the wall for support, but her injured leg buckled. Jaren caught her before she fell, and for a moment they were face to face, inches apart. She was so light in his arms, her body tense as drawn wire. This close, he could see the intricate patterns on her skin, shifting slightly, responding to her emotions. They pulsed with what he guessed was either fear or anger. Maybe both. "I do not need your strength," she said, but she did not pull away. "Maybe not," Jaren agreed, "but you're getting it anyway." He helped her to a more secure room deeper in the building, a storage area with only one entrance and thick walls. The storm outside was growing stronger, the wind howling through broken windows. They would need to wait it out. Jaren set her down carefully against the wall and pulled out a thermal blanket from his pack. "What is your name?" he asked as he activated a small heating unit. She hesitated, as if the question itself was a trap. "Lyria Ven of the 3rd Sky Legion. Jaren Moss, Reconnaissance Specialist, 4th Terran Division." "You give your name to an enemy?" "I give my name to someone I just bandaged," Jaren said with a slight smile. "Seems like the polite thing to do." Lyria studied him with those unfathomable dark eyes, her expression unreadable. In her world, warriors did not exchange pleasantries with their opponents. They fought, they won, or they died. There was no space between for kindness. Yet here sat this human, sharing his warmth and supplies as if they were comrades rather than enemies. "Your people are strange," she said finally. "I've heard that before," Jaren replied, settling against the opposite wall. The storm raged outside, shaking the building's bones. But inside this small room, an unexpected quiet settled. Between them, Lyria watched him through the growing darkness, her mind racing with questions she had never thought to ask. And somewhere in her chest, beneath layers of warrior training and cultural conditioning, something small and unfamiliar began to stir. Something that felt dangerously like curiosity about this human who had chosen mercy when he could have chosen to walk away. The storm lasted through the night and into the morning. Jaren kept watch while Lyria drifted in and out of sleep, her body fighting to heal itself. He noticed how her luminescent markings dimmed when she slept, fading to barely visible lines against her gray skin. In the weak light filtering through cracks in the walls, she looked even smaller, almost fragile. It was hard to reconcile this tiny figure with the fierce warrior who had threatened him hours before. When dawn finally broke, Lyria woke fully. Her eyes found him immediately, still alert despite her exhaustion. Jaren had moved closer during the night, not to threaten, but to share the warmth of the heating unit. She stiffened when she realized how near he was, but the cold outside kept her from pulling away. "You stayed awake all night," she observed, her voice hoarse. "Someone had to keep watch," Jaren said, offering her a ration pack. "The storm might have covered our tracks, but patrols will start up again soon." She took the food reluctantly, studying the package with suspicion. "What is this? Breakfast?" "It's not great, but it'll keep your strength up." He opened his own pack and took a bite, showing her it was safe. "We call it Nutri-Paste. Soldiers on both sides probably eat something similar." Lyria tasted it carefully, her small nose wrinkling at the bland flavor. "It tastes like compressed disappointment." Jaren laughed, a genuine sound that echoed in the small space. The noise startled her, and she stared at him with wide eyes. What was that sound? Laughter, he explained, his smile fading as he realized she truly did not understand. It's what humans do when something amuses us. Your emotions make noise? She seemed genuinely puzzled by this concept. Sometimes. Don't your people laugh? Lyria shook her head slowly. We express satisfaction through our markings. Joy, anger, fear, all visible on our skin. But we do not make sounds for emotions. That seems ... inefficient. Maybe, Jaren admitted, but it feels good. Laughter, I mean. It helps us cope with difficult things. She absorbed this information, her dark eyes never leaving his face. You are very different from what I was taught about humans. They said your kind were savage, that you cared only for conquest and resources, that you felt nothing for those outside your own species. We were told similar things about the Zephani, Jaren said quietly, that you were cold and calculating, that you saw other species as inferior, that you killed without hesitation or remorse. Some of my people do, Lyria admitted, looking down at her hands. Her fingers were long and delicate, each tipped with a small retractable claw. I have killed in battle. It is what warriors do. I've killed too, Jaren said, his voice heavy. In combat, following orders. But I never enjoyed it. Each one weighs. On me. That is weakness, Lyria said automatically, but there was uncertainty in her tone. Warriors should not feel regret for doing their duty. Is it weakness? Jaren asked. Or is it just being aware that every life matters, even enemy lives? Lyria had no answer for that. She fell silent, picking at her ration pack. Outside, the storm had finally died down, leaving an eerie quiet inn. Its wake. Jaren checked his scanner, frowning at the display. We should stay here a while longer, he said. There's movement on the scanner. Could be patrols from either side. The hours passed slowly. To break the silence, Jaren began telling her about Earth, about the blue oceans and green forests that covered his homeworld. Lyria listened with an intensity that surprised him, asking questions about things she could not imagine. Water that fell from the sky. Trees that changed colors with seasons. Animals that lived without warfare or purpose beyond survival. In turn, she told him about Zephan, her homeworld, a planet of crystalline mountains and bioluminescent valleys where her people had evolved to communicate through the patterns on their skin. She spoke of the great libraries carved into living stone, where knowledge was preserved in light rather than words. Of the bonding ceremonies where families connected their markings in intricate patterns that told their shared history. It sounds beautiful, Jaren said softly. Lyria's markings flickered, a pattern he had not seen before. What does beautiful mean? The question caught him off guard. It means ... something that pleases the eye. Something that makes you feel good just by looking at it. We have no such word, Lyria said thoughtfully. We have functional. We have efficient. We have appropriate. But nothing for this beauty concept. That's sad, Jaren said. Beauty is important. It reminds us there's more to life than just survival. She tilted her head, studying him with that unblinking gaze. Show me. Something beautiful. Jaren thought for a moment, then pulled out a small device from his pocket. He activated it, and a hologram appeared in the air between them. It showed Earth from space, a blue and white marble suspended in darkness. Continents swirled with cloud. Patterns. Oceans gleamed in sunlight. Lyria's breath caught. Her markings blazed suddenly, turning bright blue and pulsing rapidly. This is your world? Yes, that's home. She reached toward the hologram with one delicate hand, her fingers passing through the light. The colors. I have never seen such colors. Our world is grays and blues. But this? Her markings continued their rapid pulse. This makes my chest feel strange, tight but not painful. What is this feeling? Wonder, Jaren said gently. You're feeling wonder. They sat in silence, watching the hologram rotate slowly. Lyria's markings gradually calmed, settling into a soft, steady glow. When? She finally looked at him. There was something new in her expression. Something open and vulnerable that had not been there before. Your people made this? She asked. The device that chose this? Yes, we make lots of things. Art, music, technology. We build and create because it brings us joy. Joy, she repeated, testing the word. Another emotion word. The best one, Jaren said with a smile. Lyria studied his face, her head tilting slightly. When you do that with your mouth ... the smile. What does it mean? It means unhappy. Content. It's a way of showing friendliness. And these? She gestured to the laugh lines around his eyes, the small scar on his chin, the way his hair fell. Across his forehead. What do all these details mean? They're just ... me. My face. The scar is from a training accident years ago. The lines are from smiling too much, my mother always said. Lyria reached out slowly, hesitantly, as if approaching something that might vanish. Her fingers hovered near his face, not quite touching. May I? Jaren nodded, holding very still. Her touch was feather-light as she traced the scar, feeling the slightly raised skin. Her fingers were cool against his face, gentle in a way that surprised him. She touched the corner of his eye, following the lines there, then moved to his jaw, studying every contour with intense focus. You are very different from us, she said softly. Your skin is warm. It has color variation. These lines that show emotion even when you are still. Her hand lingered near his cheek. And your eyes ... they change in the light. Sometimes brown, sometimes amber. What color are they now? Jaren asked, his voice quieter than before. She leaned closer, studying. Then, intently. Her face was inches from his, close enough that he could see the intricate patterns in her markings, the way they swirled like tiny galaxies across her skin. They are warm, she said finally. Like your world from above. They look warm. And then, without thinking, without weighing the consequences, Jaren spoke the words that would change everything between them. You're beautiful, Lyria. She froze completely. Her hand fell away from his face. Her markings flared so bright they illuminated the entire room, pulsing in patterns that cycled through confusion, shock, and something else he could not name. Her breathing quickened, and she stared at him with those bottomless black eyes wide with disbelief. What did you say? Her voice was barely a whisper. I said you're beautiful, Jaren repeated, meaning every word. Your markings, the way they glow and change. Your eyes, how they see everything. Even the way you move, despite being injured. You're beautiful. Lyria's markings were changing rapidly now, color shifting through blues and purples he had never seen before. She pressed both hands to her chest as if her heart might burst through. No one has ever ... we do not ... She struggled to find words. Warriors are not beautiful. We are efficient. We are strong. We are beautiful, Jaren finished. You're all those things and beautiful, too. A sound escaped her throat, something between a gasp and a sob. Her markings exploded in patterns so complex and rapid they were almost blinding. She turned away from him, her shoulders shaking, and Jaren realized with shock that she was crying. Not with sound like humans did, but with light, her entire body, pulsing with emotions she had no name for. He moved closer, uncertain, but unable to watch her struggle alone. Lyria, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to upset you. You called me beautiful, she whispered, her back still to him. You looked at me, an enemy, someone small and broken, and you called me beautiful. Because you are. She turned then, and her face was transformed. The fierce warrior was gone, replaced by someone young and overwhelmed and achingly vulnerable. No one has ever seen me before, not as a warrior, not as a Zephany, just ... me. Jaren reached out slowly, offering his hand. After a long moment, she took it, her small fingers wrapping around his. They sat like that as the morning light grew. Stronger, two people from different worlds holding on to each other in the ruins of what should have been peace. Outside, the sound of engines approached. Reality was returning, bringing with it all the complications they had forgotten in their small shelter. But for this moment, they held on, neither willing to be the first to let go. And Lyria's markings glowed steady and bright, speaking a language her people had never taught her. The language of a heart, discovering what it meant to be truly seen. The sound of engines grew louder, splitting into two distinct sources approaching from different directions. Jaren's scanner flashed with proximity warnings, showing heat signatures, converging on their location. His hand tightened involuntarily around Lyria's before he forced himself to let go and check his weapon. Both sides are coming, he said, his voice tense. They must have tracked the storm's end, knowing anyone taking shelter would move soon. Lyria pushed herself up, despite the pain in her leg, her warrior instincts overriding everything else. Her markings shifted to deep red, the color of combat readiness. You need to hide. If my people find you here with me, they will assume you held me captive. They will execute you immediately. And if my people find you, they'll assume you were. Gathering intelligence, Jaren countered. The outcome will be the same. They stared at each other across the small room, the weight of impossible choices pressing down on them. Everything that had passed between them in the night, every word and touch and revelation, suddenly felt fragile as glass. The real world was crashing back in, demanding they remember who they were supposed to be. We could run, Jaren suggested, though even as he said it, he knew how foolish it sounded. Find somewhere else to hide until what? Lyria interrupted, her voice sharp with pain that had nothing to do with her injury. Until the war ends? Until our people stop seeing each other as enemies. That will never happen, Jaren. We both know this. The use of his name struck him harder than any weapon. She had barely spoken it before, preferring the formal distance of rank and species. But now it fell from her lips like something precious and forbidden, and he felt the loss of what they could never have like a physical blow. There has to be another way, he said, moving to the window to assess their options. Through the cracked glass, he could see two transport vehicles approaching from opposite ends of the settlement. One was marked with Terran military insignia, the other bearing the crystalline symbols of the Zephany forces. They would arrive within minutes. Lyria limped to his side, her face set in grim determination. There is a way. You leave through the back exit while I draw their attention. I will tell my people I was unconscious from my injuries, that I saw no one. You will do the same with yours. That's not a way forward, Jaren said harshly. That's just lying about what happened here. What did happen here? Lyria asked, and her voice broke on the question. Her markings flickered between red and the soft blue they had been when he called her beautiful. Tell me, human, what is this between us? A moment of weakness? A strange dream we both had in the storm? Jaren turned to face her fully, taking in every detail of her small form. The proud set of her shoulders despite her injury, the way her markings betrayed every emotion her face tried to hide. You know what it is. Don't pretend you don't. Say it then, she challenged, her black eyes shining. Give it a name. Another one of your human words for feelings we are not supposed to have. Connection, Jaren said firmly. Understanding. Maybe even he stopped. The word too dangerous to speak aloud. Love? Lyria whispered, and the word came out like a prayer or a curse. Is that what you were going to say? That word I learned from your stories last night? The engines were very close now. Through the window, Jaren could see soldiers dismounting from both vehicles, weapons ready, beginning their sweep of the settlement. They had perhaps 2 minutes before this room was discovered. Yes, Jaren said, because there was no more time. For anything but truth. I think I could love you, Lyria Ven, given time, given a chance. Given a world where a human and a Zephany could exist without this war between us. Lyria's markings went completely white, a color he had never seen before. Her whole body trembled, and when she spoke, her voice was thick with unshed tears. My people have a legend about 2 stars that orbit each other, but can never touch. They pull at each other across the void, bound by forces they cannot escape, but if they ever meet, they will destroy each other in fire. That is what we are. Jaren Moss. 2 stars that should never have come close. Legends can be wrong, Jaren said desperately. He could hear voices now, both human and Zephany, calling out search patterns. Maybe we don't destroy each other. Maybe we create something new. Or maybe we doom everyone we care about by being selfish, Lyria said, but her hand found his again, gripping tight. My unit lost 3 warriors in the last battle. 3 friends who will never see their families again. Your people have suffered. 2. How can we choose this, choose us, when so many have lost so much? Jaren had no answer. The voices were in the corridor now. He could hear his squad leader, Lieutenant Shun, calling his name. And from the other direction, sharp commands. In the Zephany language, someone searching for Lyria. We have to decide now, he said. What do we tell them? Lyria looked up at him, her small face transformed by anguish. I do not want to lie about you, about this. But I do not want to watch you die either. The door burst open from both sides. Simultaneously, 4 human soldiers poured in from one entrance, weapons raised. 3 Zephany warriors entered from the other, their own weapons gleaming. For a moment, everyone froze in a tableau of mutual surprise and horror. Lieutenant Chun's eyes widened as he took in the scene. Jaren standing close to a wounded Zephany warrior, their hands clasped together. Moss, step away from the hostile. From the Zephany side, a tall warrior with elaborate markings barked something in their language. Lyria responded quickly, her voice steady despite her fear. Jaren's translator caught fragments. ... found me ... gave aid. Did not harm ... She's injured, Jaren said quickly, not letting go of Lyria's hand. She needs medical attention. I've been treating her wounds. You've been what? Chun's face darkened with anger and confusion. Moss, that's an enemy combatant. You should have reported her position immediately. She would have died, Jaren said simply. The Zephany warrior spoke again, his markings flashing orange with agitation. Lyria responded, her voice growing stronger. She was arguing with her own people. Jaren realized, defending him. The warriors. Markings shifted to a dangerous red, and he raised his weapon toward Jaren. No, Lyria stepped between them, putting her small body directly in the line of fire. Her markings blazed white again, and she spoke in rapid, forceful tones. Whatever she was saying made the warrior hesitate, his weapon lowering slightly. Lyria, don't, Jaren said, trying to pull her back to safety. She glanced over her shoulder. At him, and in that look, he saw everything she could not say. Then she turned back to her people and spoke words that even the translator could not fully render. Something about honor and debt and choices that transcended orders. Lieutenant Chun stepped forward, his weapon still trained on the Zephany. Moss, This is a direct order. Release the prisoner and step back to our position. She's not a prisoner, Jaren said, his voice carrying across the room. And I'm not releasing her. Not to you, not to them, not until everyone agrees that no harm comes. To either of us. The room exploded into chaos. Both sides started shouting, weapons waving, soldiers moving into better positions. Lyria's voice cut through it all, sharp and commanding, her markings pulsing with authority. She was speaking to both groups now, switching between languages. Her translator working overtime. This human saved my life when he could have killed me, she declared. He gave me aid, food, warmth, and safety. He asked nothing in return. He showed me mercy when mercy was not required or expected. If you kill him, you kill the only human who ever saw me as more than an enemy. You kill proof that there is something beyond this war. Her words hung in the air like a challenge. The Zephany warriors looked uncertain, their markings flickering. On the human side, soldiers exchanged glances. Sean's weapon lowered slightly. And this Zephany, Jaren added, his voice firm, taught me that everything we've been told about her people might be wrong. She feels pain and fear and wonder. She has questions about beauty and emotions, and things her culture never taught her to value. She's not a machine or a monster. She's a person, just like us. Silence fell over the room. Outside, the wind picked up again, whistling through the ruins. Inside, 8 soldiers from 2 different worlds stood frozen in a moment that could tip, either toward bloodshed or something unprecedented. The tall Zephany warrior's markings slowly shifted from red to a cautious yellow. He spoke to Lyria in their language, his tone questioning. She responded quietly, and Jaren caught the word for beautiful, the one he had taught her. The warrior's markings flickered with surprise. Sean lowered his weapon completely. Moss, what exactly happened here? Jaren looked at Lyria as she looked back at him. In her dark eyes, he saw the same question that burned in his own heart. How much truth could they tell? How much could their people handle? We talked, Jaren said finally. We shared stories about our worlds. We realized we're not as different as we thought. We learned, Lyria added, her English halting but clear, that maybe war is not only way. That maybe there is path we have not seen. The Zephany warrior spoke again, and this time his markings showed a pattern Jaren had not seen before. Something complex and contemplative. Whatever Lyria had told him was making him think. Sean holstered his weapon, though his expression remained wary. This is going to have to go up the chain of command, way up. Moss, you've created one hell of a situation here. I know, sir. Was it worth it? Jaren looked at Lyria, at her small, proud form, her glowing markings, the way she stood despite her. Injury, brave enough to place herself between him and harm. Yes, sir, it was worth it. Sean nodded slowly. Then we better make damn sure we all survive to explain it. He turned to the Zephany warriors, speaking slowly and clearly. Truce, temporary ceasefire. We need to talk about what happens next. The tall warrior's markings shifted to blue, the color of agreement. He spoke into a communication device, calling off additional patrols. Chun did the same with his unit dot. As the tension in the room slowly dissolved, Lyria swayed slightly, her injury, and exhaustion finally overwhelming her adrenaline. Jaren caught her automatically, supporting her weight. The soldiers from both sides watched this simple act of care, and something shifted in the air. We cannot stay enemies forever, Lyria said quietly, though her voice carried to everyone. Not if individuals can choose differently. Not if connection is possible. It won't be easy, Chun said. There will be courts-martial inquiries, probably prison time for both of you. I know, Jaren said. But maybe our story starts something. Maybe others see that if we could find common ground in ruins during a storm, then peace isn't impossible, just difficult. The Zephani warrior spoke again, and the translator rendered his words carefully. You are either greatest fools or greatest hope. Time will tell which. As they prepared to leave the settlement, both groups moving carefully around each other, Lyria leaned close to Jaren. What happens now? She whispered. I don't know, he admitted. Courts, questions, probably separation while they figure out what to do with us. But Lyria. He paused, making sure she was looking at him. Whatever happens, I need you to know something. Last night wasn't a mistake. You weren't a mistake. Her markings glowed soft blue, that color he now recognized as peace, as contentment, as something close to happiness. When you called me beautiful, you gave me a word for something I always felt but never could name. No matter what comes, I will carry that word forever. I will carry you. They were separated then, each taken by their own people toward their respective transports. But as Jaren walked away, he turned back one last time. Lyria stood at the entrance of the other vehicle, small and fierce and glowing in the morning light. She raised one hand in a gesture that might have been farewell or promise or both. He raised his hand in return, and across the distance between them, across the divide of species in war and impossible circumstances, something passed between them that no weapon could destroy and no order could undo. Two soldiers from different worlds had met in ruins and found something neither expected. Whether it would be enough to change anything, only time would tell. But as both transports pulled away in opposite directions, neither Jaren nor Lyria looked back with regret. They had been seen. They had been known. They had been called beautiful. In a universe that rarely made space for such small, profound moments. And sometimes, in a war that seemed endless, that was enough to keep hoping that tomorrow might be different.